Hello and welcome to another episode of Spoil Your Appetite. I'm Tristan. Alrighty, so here I am, back again. So last week there was supposed to be an episode, but things didn't go as according to plan. Brittany was supposed to be on the show last week, and when I tell you it was a shitstorm, it was a shitstorm. Shitstorm being as in, we recorded last week, and apparently my mic wasn't set up. And because normally I use Odyssey, that's the program I use, but ever since I used it with Brittany or whatever, I always had the certain settings I would have to go through were just horrible. So Brittany suggested a new recording software, and we delved in. I straight away just went in with a conversation, just started recording, but nothing went through. And apparently, I was feeling good because there was a lot that I had to say. There was speculation, there was topics, because, she hasn't been on the podcast in quite some time because we all have lives. And so that happened. Sure enough, I stopped the recording, felt good, so here I am, about to edit this, trying to figure out the whole, how do I edit this podcast and whatnot with this new program, and sure enough, I pull up the audio, and my mic wasn't on. I go to my settings, sure enough, my mic wasn't set up, so, fuck me, right? Anyways, so hopefully next week, no promises going to be made here, but next week, hopefully Brittany will be on the podcast. I mean, we were going to do it Friday, but, we're both busy. I got plans, she has plans, and so next week, hopefully Brittany will return, and we'll try to talk about what we said last week, because, damn, last week was going to be a great episode, but any of it's solo time. So just thought I'd let you all know about that. Alright, time to get on to the shit I want to talk about today. So, where do I even begin? Alright, let's start with that Once Upon a Time teaser trailer. Oh my god. Once Upon a Time is definitely one of my most anticipated movies of 2019, because ultimately it's a Tarantino film, and I love Quentin a lot. I love his movies, and just reading up on this development of the story, it's going to be a Charles Manson movie, all these articles and whatnot, and soon enough, that's not really the case. That wasn't really the case, and as you can see with this recent trailer, it's, oh my god. I mean, first of all, the posters. When the posters came out, I was digging these character posters. I was getting that 60s vibe, Hollywood. And this movie is taking place in 1969, and I really felt that. I felt that aesthetic, and seeing this trailer was really great. I mean, I totally forgot Bruce Lee was going to be in it. And, Charles Manson, I cannot remember who is playing Charles Manson, but so far I am digging it. I love the fact that it's starring both Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, oh my god, I can't wait. Who is it? Brad Pitt plays the stunt double. He plays a character who's the stunt double of Leo's whatchamacallit character, and oh my god, I loved it. And it definitely feels something new. When you watch a Tarantino film, it's all got that boom action and all this crazy business, and with this movie it feels like it's very much, I don't know, it's kind of hard to compare this movie to his other films, it's very hard to say what this kind of is. It's not really action like your Django, or it's sort of like, it seems like another Pulp Fiction in a weird kind of way. I mean, I assume there's going to be some action in it. I mean, for all I know, it could be another Inglourious Bastards kind of thing again, which, I'm down for that, because that movie was awesome. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and of course I had to see what, everybody else was thinking, and sure enough, people are excited about it, which is great, even though there was some people complaining that saying, oh, Brad Pitt couldn't stand a chance against Bruce Lee or whatever, and I'm just like, I get it, someone who just watches this and hasn't followed up on, what this movie is about is probably looking at this trailer and is like, what? I mean, it totally does give you the sense that, hey, it's about these two characters and these actors and they're acting and blah, blah, blah. So, in that scene where you see Brad Pitt's character taking on Bruce Lee, they're not actually fighting. It's actually, whatchamacallit, they're, they're practicing their stunt coordinating and whatnot. And so, but yeah, man, besides that, I'm so fucking excited for this film. And it comes out in July, so I am so fucking excited for it. So that's definitely, and it looks like it's something new. Like, yeah, it's got that Tarantino vibe to it, but at the same time, it seems something new and different, and I love it. Another trailer that dropped that I could have talked about when it came out was the Avengers Endgame trailer. Now, I gotta say, I really love this trailer. I mean, it's more of the same in the sense that I still don't know what the plot is, and I love it so much because it's like, yeah, what is this movie? What are they going up against? What exactly is the plan? And what does it mean when they say whatever it takes? And I just a bunch of shots, great shots that we get. Of course, here I am going to say it again. I know I said this with Infinity War, but I could be wrong, but I strongly believe Captain America, Steve Rogers, is going to die. And specifically that moment in the shot where you see him visibly shaking, strapping, like tightening his shield on his arm. Like he's about to I feel like that is the moment he dies. And I cannot imagine what this movie is going to feel like to me, because I'll be honest, like Infinity War, like I know it's bad to, in my eyes, it's like, it's kind of shitty to compare, trilogies or whatever. Like, we have this trilogy and movie is so great, the first movie is so great, and then the second movie comes out and we're always comparing it. But like with the Avengers Endgame, I don't like to have expectations, but with this movie, I don't know where to set my expectations. I mean, they're pretty high, because it's like, what is the plan here? Like, I mean, for me personally, I feel like this feels more like a personal story, more so than you're popping out action beats by beats, trying to, like, they got a goal, they got to stop the villain or whatever. And this movie, it's like, what exactly is this movie? I know they're trying to reverse the snap and all this business, but like, I don't know what to think of it, like, honestly. And the fact that, there was a great theory I heard, and of all the theories that I've heard, there's one great theory that I heard that I was like, I would love to see this actually happen, and that is that maybe Thanos isn't the villain. Maybe he, maybe he dies. Like, maybe he's on, like, death's row or whatever, and, after again, like, taking an axe to the fucking chest or whatever by Thor, what if the movie, opens with, all right, we found we know where Thanos is. We're gonna go find him, and it's Thor going to see Thanos, and Thanos is like, hey, Gauntlet's destroyed. Can't really undo what I just did. You can take it. It's worthless. Good luck, but and that would be great just to see the hero and the villain, one of the heroes talking to the villain, just being like, just having that dynamic, and I would love to see that, and I would love if that's how the movie opens, because you look at Avengers Infinity War, and that movie opens with Thanos killing Asgardians, and wouldn't it be something to come full circle and just to have the beginning of Avengers Endgame open with, this time, Thanos is done and he's finished and he's got nothing else left to do or whatever. Like, I love the idea that Thanos really isn't the villain in this or whatever. I like that, and I like that maybe it's somebody else that we haven't seen and they're not showing it, because, so far we've had how many trailers? We've had 2 and a little bit marketing here and there, and no Thanos. Sure, we only saw his hand, meddling with some, what's it called? Sunflowers or whatever. But I'm excited. Like, I really hope that theory is true, because that would be ballsy. And yeah, it's going to upset a bunch of people, because, it is what it is, but I think for character-wise, I think that would be really fucking awesome. But yeah, and of course, time travel is going to be involved. I mean, I think it's a guarantee time travel is going to be involved. And they got their quantum realm suits or whatever, those white suits that they're wearing. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's just like the fact that we don't know what's going on. The fact that they're just like, they're giving us all these shots, but no context or whatever. Not enough context to tell us what the plot is. And honestly, I love the trailer. I love it so much, and my money is on Captain America is gonna die. Like, I still fully believe that a lot. Yeah, so there's that. You know what else there is? So there's a rumor going online, and, I don't really necessarily believe this rumor as much, because the source is is iffy. I mean, but then again, it could be true, and that is, there's this rumor going around about the Matt Reeves Batman movie, and that is, it's going to be set in the 90s. Now, personally, set in the 90s, okay, that's cool. And you got Penguin as the main villain with other villains, cool, and it's going to be more detective driven or whatever. That's cool. If it's true, alright, I'm all for it. Just show me, just make it worth my time, like, make sure, with all movies that I go see, I just want to feel like, I spent enough. I spent like the $15 or however much money I'm spending on a ticket or whatever, making sure that I spent my money good on a movie. But yeah, a Batman movie in the 90s, that'd be great. I mean, personally, with DC movies going forward, I kind of don't look at these DC movies going forward as a cinematic universe and, trying to make it all make sense or whatever. I kind of look at it as how the X-Men have done their movies, which is like, when it comes to continuity, they don't really give a shit about continuity. I mean, a little touches here and there, but overall, they're not really worried about continuity, and I'm totally okay with that. That's kind of how I look at these DC movies. Like, yeah, there is a universe, but at the same time, who gives a shit, right? Like, who gives a shit? Like, I'm putting my mindset back into the, they're just, they're not really concerned about connecting the dots or whatever. I'm sure they will connect the dots in the end, but yeah, I seriously doubt it, but whatever. But yeah, a Batman movie in the 90s sounds great. I mean, sounds really good. I mean, I mean, you're going to take place in Gotham. It's going to be in the 90s. You know, grunge was a thing in the 90s. So, yeah, it makes perfect sense. So, I can just see it now. A bunch of heavy metal music in that movie. I mean, it fits Gotham. That's for sure. I can't wait to hear who they cast as the new Batman, though. I am really curious to see who they cast as Batman. I hope it's someone unknown, someone that I've never heard of before. I mean, you know, it's just me, but, you know, who knows? And, again, for me personally, I would love to see another Man of Steel movie. I really would. And you got to get Henry Cavill back. Just one more movie, please, for the love of God. One more movie of Superman with Henry Cavill. Please. That's all I want from this DC movies. You know, in other DC movie news, so there's this report going around saying Ezra Miller is screenwriting The Flash with Grant Morrison, and he wants a darker tone, which, you know, okay, I'll throw my 2 cents in. I don't know how to feel about that. Okay, you got Grant Morrison, great comic book writer. I don't know how much he's worked in the actual TV or movie industry. Probably not a whole lot, but I mean, hey, at least Ezra Miller isn't doing it solo or whatever for the Flash movie. But, you know, I read this and I'm like, you know, I love Ezra Miller as the Flash, but, like, my guy, you need to, like, you're an actor, dude. Like, I don't know if this is a good idea of you stepping in the shoes of, like, writing and whatnot. Like, this is going to be your first time writing for a big budget movie for the Flash, if it even happens, you know? Like, I don't know. And the fact that he wants a darker take, it's like, he was great as the Flash in Justice League. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, he was great. That, you know, that's the Flash. He is that lighthearted character. And I don't understand. I don't understand the logic in, like, oh, he needs to be a darker take. It's like, okay, the only thing dark about Barry Allen is, you know, his dad. He watched his mother die. And his dad is in prison, and, you know, but overall, Barry Allen is not really, that's as dark as you'll get with that character. But I mean, then again, like, what exactly does he want when he wants a dark tone? Like, what does he mean? Does he want it to be like what what Batman v Superman was like? I mean, again, if it's like that, that's not really the character of the Flash. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. You know, I have my problems with BVS, and BVS, the tone of BVS was not the problem. It was more of like story beats and characters and anyways. But Flash being a dark movie, I don't know. I mean, who they got as the directors, they seem like, you know, they seem like they have a vision. And again, who knows if this movie's going to get made, but I don't really know at this point. And, you know, I don't know how to feel about it, but the idea of Grant Morrison being on to help Ezra Miller write this script, that's a plus. I mean, why not? I mean, can it be worse? I mean, again, you know, I'm just glad Ezra Miller isn't writing it himself and actually has a professional who actually writes. Because who knows? Who the hell knows? In other news, you know, Christopher Nolan. That's a name I like to hear. Christopher Nolan, the great Christopher Nolan, is at it again with a new movie coming. I don't know if there's any details of what it is, but apparently it's an event movie, which, I mean, okay. And apparently he has casted, or, you know, yeah, he's casted John David Washington, which, if you don't know the name, it's Denzel Washington's kid. He starred in one of my favorite movies of last year, BlacKkKlansman, and he's gonna lead this movie alongside with Robert Pattinson. I am so looking forward to this because let me tell you, I love John David Washington. I mean, after seeing him in BlacKkKlansman, yeah, put that guy in more movies, please. Like, and the thought of him being in a Christopher Nolan movie, oh god, yeah. Yeah, let me see that. And you got Robert Pattinson, which, I'm going to say it, you know, from what I've learned and what I've looked up, you know, Robert Pattinson has been in indie films, apparently. And, hey, if this is like the first blockbuster movie he's coming back to, and it's for a Christopher Nolan movie, I'm all in. I'm all in. Like, hey, at least you got away. At least you weren't at least he hasn't been casted as that typical, what's it called? You know, that pretty boy, teen, Twilight crap or whatever, because, yeah, I remember just being forced to watch those movies when they came out, and they were not my cup of tea because, you know, to me, vampires, the kind of vampires that I call vampires are like shit like the Lost Boys, like the 80s vampires, the ones that were like terrifying to look at, and, you know, not the whole, you know, Twilight thing. You know, I think the last vampire movie that I liked, and it's not a good movie, and that's Van Helsing. Van Helsing was like the last good vampire movie-ish. I don't know why all of a sudden they gotta be so, like, dramatic and, you know, in love, and which is, like, it's fine or whatever, but to me, vampires have always been, like, terrifying, transformed people thirsting for blood, and that's it. Like, you know, they're not heroes in my mind. I mean, with some exceptions, I'm sure, but whatever. Anyways, Robert Pattinson and John David Washington in a Christopher Nolan movie. Sign me the fuck up for that movie, because it's Nolan. Like, so far, I have yet to see whatchamacallit, Interstellar. Wow. Well, guess I gotta add that to the watch list, because I haven't seen Interstellar. Love Dunkirk, and I will say this. Dunkirk was a prize. Dunkirk is one of those movies that is, like, hard to watch in the theater, specifically where they, you know, you see all these, like, bunch of sailors, soldiers going underwater. Oh my god, so fucking unnerving and just, like, hard to watch and just wanting to throw up. And you know who was in Dunkirk? Harry Styles. The Harry Styles from One Direction, I want to say. Yeah, that Harry Styles. And, you know, in the hands of a good director, he was directed pretty great. He's a pretty good actor, you know, in the right hands. I mean, yeah, Harry Styles, I was not expecting him to be, like, a really damn good actor. But then again, it's Christopher Nolan directing, so there's that. But yeah, I am looking forward to this new Nolan movie, that's for sure. Like, I mean, the man could do no wrong, honestly. I mean, of all his movies I've seen most of his movies. I've seen Memento, I've seen The Prestige, of course I've seen his Batman movies, I've seen Interstellar, one hell of a ride, definitely. But I have not seen Interstellar, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing another one. I believe it's Insomnia. But yeah, I think, you know, I'm sure that all of his movies are good. My personal favorite, I want to say The Prestige, because I believe that was the first non-Batman movie that I saw of his, and yeah, I love The Prestige, honestly. And yeah, he's just a great director in general. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to see where he pushes, you know, if it's good, which I doubt, you know, it won't be good. I'm very interested in what kind of career that'll push Robert Pattinson's career. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Another exciting news, James Gunn is back as the director for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I mean, okay, so I don't know if I ever talked about it on the podcast, but yeah, that whole thing with James Gunn, I get it. It's Disney trying to protect their brand or whatever, but at the same time, it's like, okay, 10 years ago, it was a decade ago, he's even apologized for the jokes when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out, but, politics, right? So he gets let go, and then months later, now he's back, and I was all fine for it, if they wanted to replace it, because it's like, okay, it really sucks that he's gone, but I could see some other directors taking over that vibe with the Guardians of the Galaxy, like Edgar Wright, but then again, I don't think Edgar Wright would want to come back after the whole Ant-Man incident, but, anyways, but the fact that James Gunn is back, that's exciting, and the fact that he's still gonna do the Suicide Squad movie, which apparently he's gonna do first, and do the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that's exciting. That is some exciting ass news to me. Like, all these toxic fanboys, trying to pit Marvel and DC against each other. Now it's like, now you guys got both. You guys have the same person. You guys gonna, like, shit talk each other now? Like, have fun with that. Like, that was the first thing I noticed. Like, when I first read this whole thing, I read that whole article, and when it said he's still gonna do Suicide Squad, I was like, motherfucker, that is awesome. Like, my God, just that shit is so amazing. But yeah, I'm glad he's back, and and he's apparently the first director in the MCU to finish a trilogy. That is wild to me. That is so fucking wild to me. But yeah, just gotta say, welcome back, James Gunn. Alright. I was gonna hold this off for next week with Brittany, but so I saw a little movie. My second time seeing it, Captain Marvel. So Captain Marvel, I'm going to do a little backstory. Captain Marvel was a movie, when I heard was going to be made, I was like, okay, cool. Sucks that Black Widow wasn't the first MCU female-led movie, but, I mean, okay, Captain Marvel it is. I was excited for it. And then that post-credit scene in Avengers Infinity War, I was like, oh, this is going to be something. And then the marketing just booted up, and, I enjoyed that first trailer. And then, more marketing came out, and I was like, yeah, I got nothing. I got no excitement for this. I'm like, I'm still going to be there, but it's not raising my excitement like I want it to. Which is like, okay, whatever. So, of course, the date's coming around, and lucky for me, I got to take out the lady for it, and bought 2 tickets, and sure enough, movie ends, and I'm like, I turned to my lady, I'm like, that was so much better than I expected, like, and I feel like I just walked out of the theater, and I'm like, that movie was just, there was more to it than what the trailer showed, like, because the trailer just seems, the marketing just seemed so bland. Like, the fact that they wouldn't show more personality of Carol Danvers in the movie is kind of crazy to me. Like, okay, you got, people criticizing that her acting is wooden or whatever. You couldn't have showed some personality of Carol Danvers where it didn't ruin the movie. Like, you could have showed some things and it wouldn't have ruined the movie. I mean, I mean, there is like some twists and turns. Well, just one that I can name of, but I'll get to it later. But she had personality. Like, I don't understand. I don't know why they wouldn't show personality of hers. And, you know, okay, the action is great to see or whatever, but you gotta show personality. And, you know, it is what it is. And honestly, you know, so I saw Captain Marvel again last night. I recorded this at 2 a.m. So basically last night I saw it again. And, you know, seeing it a second time, it's pretty good. It's really good. You know, it's the first time I was like, that was solid. It's pretty good. You know, not rock my socks off or anything like that. You know, I still feel that way, but after seeing it a second time, I'm like, yeah, this movie is pretty good. It's pretty good, you know. There's not really anything I have to complain about. I mean, it does feel... It's not a movie that I would say, you know, that it's out and Avengers Endgame is coming. I wouldn't say, yeah, you gotta see Captain Marvel just because it'll, you know, play a big part in Avengers Endgame. No, I would say, you know, don't go in, you know, hoping this movie will get you more excited for Endgame. I would say go into this just to get to know the character, basically. That's how I kind of look at it, because she's a great character. I think she was written real well and whatnot. I think everybody did a fabulous job. The big praise I gotta give to is the makeup department for the Skrulls, because oh my god, they look fan-fucking-tastic. Like, let me tell you, the Skrulls looked amazing. Like, I cannot get over it. I can't get over how amazing the Skrulls looked like. I think this movie should be... it's kind of unfair to say, but I really feel like this movie should be nominated for the makeup effects. But then again, I haven't seen all the other movies, but I feel like this could be nominated for makeup effects, specifically for the Skrulls, because the Skrulls, again, they looked phenomenal. Oh my god. Just the details on them, and yeah, I loved it. Alright, now it's time for spoiler time. Not many spoilers to go into. Well, there is just a few that I want to talk about. So this is your spoiler warning. I mean, hell, it's even in the podcast title. Okay, first things first. This is my only negative. You know, only my one negative. How Nick Fury loses his eye. You know, we all joked about how, you know, Goose the Cat, which... Goose the Cat is great. Goose the Cat's probably going to scratch out Nick Fury's eye. You know, that was kind of the joke. And sure enough, the first time seeing it, I was like, no fucking way. And, you know, we all knew it was coming. And I was like, please don't tell me this is how it... And yep, it happened. And... yeah, I know it's a minor thing, but that really bothered the shit out of me. Because, you know, now that you look at... you know, when you rewatch Captain America Winter Soldier, the line that Fury says, you know, last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye. Ugh, so disappointing. So disappointing. Like, my theory, and I'm surprised, I can't be the only one who thought of this, but my theory was that maybe, just maybe, Nick Fury gets his eye punched out by Captain Marvel. Like, that would make sense. That would have made so much sense, because she would have thought he was a Skrull, and that would have been amazing if that was the case. That would have been amazing. But then again, that wouldn't make sense again if, you know, that wouldn't make sense later on in Captain America Winter Soldier, when he says, you know, that line. Maybe it could have been, you know, in the movie, whoever was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time in that movie, Ben Mendelsohn's character, you know, whoever he was impersonating, you know, he could have been the one that could have taken out Fury's eye. That way or hell, you could have had the Skrull who's impersonating Coulson, You could have had him take out his eye, but anyways, like I said, it's a minor thing. It's whatever. It's, I'm over it. It doesn't really bother me as much anymore. But, every time I think about it, it kind of stings, but I'm not like most people are. Well, most, fans not really crying about it like every single night, but, I am just like, man, the opportunities you could have done with that, that minor thing, but still, whatever. But anyways, so that's the only negative I have about this movie. Again, minor thing. The positives, of course, the Skrulls look amazing. Goose the cat is the most fucking adorable thing ever. Like, seeing it a second time, I'm like, God damn it, I want a cat. I want a cat so fucking badly right now. And, it was coming, flirting away, What's a flirkin? Great. I love, when I saw this movie the first time, saw it with a lady, she goes, what's a flirkin? And I just whisper, oh, you're about to find out. And sure enough, the scene happens, and oh my God, it was just great. It was so great. And that's what I love about going into these comic book movies, like knowing the stuff that and then going into the theater with a general audience who probably's never read like a Captain Marvel or, any comics at all, don't know deep cuts in the comics. It's always fun to see the reactions. Like, oh man, like the whole Winter Soldier thing. I'm sure there were some people, who seen a trailer, saw Winter Soldier, probably didn't connect the dots when seeing Winter Soldier, didn't know that, I'm sure there were some who didn't know that Bucky was in the first film. I imagine there were some people out there who saw Winter Soldier, and when they saw that Bucky was the Winter Soldier, I'm pretty sure there was some sort of like shock there. But yeah, I love going to comic book movies with people who've never read a comic and are like, what does that mean? It's like, oh, and they explain it later on in the movie. So great, so great. Another thing I liked, speaking of Skrulls, the fact that, at the end of the day, they weren't really the villains. They were just, they're just refugee Skrulls out there who are trying to get home. And the fact that they switched it was kind of great. I really dug that a lot, that, hey, these Skrulls aren't really bad. They're just, they're doing what they can to find a home or whatever, but they're not like your typical bad guys that want to rule the world. No, it's actually the Kree who want the order and all this business. And I thoroughly enjoyed that little twist because, us comic book fans, we know Skrulls, yeah, they whatchamacallit, they transform, they can shapeshift and all this business. Like, I really dug that though. So I really dug that part. And the fact that the Tesseract makes an appearance in this movie, that was something I couldn't even see coming, but it makes sense. And the fact that that's mainly where Captain Marvel gets her powers, pretty sweet. And the fact that they gender swapped Marvel for this movie, again, pretty awesome. I love going into this stuff and, being surprised that, there are a general audience who won't understand one thing when, they see something, they don't know what it is. And then for the fans, they'll do something different. Something familiar, but very different. And I love that whole gender swap with it. And the actress that plays Marvel and the Central Intelligence, she did pretty great differentiating it with the characters or whatever. I thought that was pretty great. Like, you didn't feel like, oh, no, she doesn't feel like a different character. She feels like the same character. I really dug that. And, of course, the movie ends with her basically being so fucking OP. And yet, I fucking love it. I loved it. I love when she just unleashes her fucking God mode power. And, Oh my god, so great. I guess now that I think about it, the only other negative I also have is, I guess, the lack of the 90s aesthetic, I guess. I don't know. Just me. But anyways, yeah, Captain Marvel is a solid movie. I mean, would I recommend it? You know, is it something you gotta see before Endgame? Not really. Not really. But it is a nice introduction to the character, so there's that. What else is there to talk about Captain Marvel? I will say there was another thing I noticed watching this movie again. It's pretty not well lit in some places in this movie. Like specifically when they're on the ship, the Skrull ship. Not well lit, and I couldn't really see what was going on with the action pieces, but that's okay. That's totally fine. The CGI on Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, couldn't even notice it. Didn't even notice, you know, the little tweaks or whatever. So yeah, there's that. Wow, what is this there? I feel like there's more. Jude Law is pretty great. Pretty great. And Ronan the Accuser, he was great to see. You know, could have left him out, but, you know, just connecting the dots. That's okay. Wow. Yeah, so that's basically... Oh, another thing I loved. I gotta say, seeing the Captain Marvel helmet, oh my god. It's the littlest moments that get me. And seeing that for the first time on the screen, just dying in my seat. I was like, oh my god, they're fucking doing it. Like, you know, the first time I saw it in the trailer, I was like, there it is. Oh, and they got the wide eyes. Oh my god. Oh my god. So good. I loved it. I love that moment. Just littlest moments. But yeah. And the way that, you know, Captain Marvel gets her red, blue, and gold colors. That was sweet. That was a nice, cute moment where Carol Danvers' friend, I am forgetting the character's name. Basically, her daughter picks out the color scheme. Oh my god, that was too fucking sweet. Like, I initially thought, you know, oh, maybe she's just gonna, you know, when she fully unleashes her power, that's when the colors come in. Nope. It was a nice little touch. I really love that. I really dug that a lot. I dug that so much. It was a sweet moment. And I also loved, you know, getting back on the Skrulls. The transformation is pretty great, you know. Pretty sweet. But yeah, that's Captain Marvel for you. I'm sure whenever Brittany comes on the podcast, we're going to talk more about Captain Marvel. Probably going to be a recap of what I loved. You know, so far, I believe she enjoyed it as much. You know, she enjoyed it, I think, if I can recall the conversation we had. Because, of course, we did talk about once she's, you know, posting on her social media that she saw it. I was like, what'd you think? She was like, I liked it. You know, probably, you know, yeah, it is what it is. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to Avengers Endgame. Definitely. Oh, and of course, I almost forgot about the post-credit scene. I gotta say, the first time when I saw the post-credit scene, I was like, you know, if you know, okay, so it's basically, you know, the pager goes off, and the Avengers are like, just Steve Rogers is like booted up again, you know, and Black Widow is like, I want to know, you know, and, you know, I just want to know who's on the other end of that line. She turns around, there's Captain Marvel. You know, realistically, if that was me, I would have swung a punch. You know, wouldn't do anything, but scary as fuck. She just pops out of fucking nowhere. But it's pretty great, you know. And seeing it a second time, I was like, I got that excitement. That excitement built up in me. And when she pops up, she's like, where's Fury? I was like, oh ho ho ho. That's what should have been my first reaction when I first saw it. But second time, you know, second viewing always helps when it comes to movies. But yeah, I love that post-credit scene. And alright, here's a theory. So I'm gonna guess, probably not, this probably won't be true, but like after seeing it, that post-credit scene, why do I feel like that's like literally moments after the events of Infinity War. Because if you look carefully, Steve Rogers is looking at all these holograms, and the counting of the people missing in the world is going up and up. Why do I feel like that's literally minutes, like hours after, could be even a day after the snap? Because, Captain, Rogers has that beard, and Romanoff is still a blonde, and whatnot. Why do I feel like that's literally hours later? Could be it. And then later on, you see in the movie, yeah, there could be a time jump. There could be a time jump in the movie. Oh, that would be awesome. Movie starts off with, the Avengers find Thanos, and Thanos gave him that gauntlet, just being like, useless. And then cut to, 2 months later, and then they finally have a plan. Oh, God. The wait for Avengers Infinity War is we're almost there. But next on the list of must-see movies for me, at least, is I get to see Us next week. Then after that, Shazam. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. And then I'm also going to be seeing Pet Sematary. Weird. But I'm in for it. So in for it. Alright. That's all I got. Sorry this wasn't an hour-long podcast, but that's all I got for today. Hopefully, like I said, Brittany will be here next week, and this time my mic will be on. So yeah, that's been Spoiler Appetite for this week. I'm Tristan, and you've just been spoiled.